Now through the end of the month, save $300 on the whole ball of wax at L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com. The whole ball of wax includes just about everything at the site, and when you use the code SPRINGRUSH at checkout, we will instantly drop $300 off the already amazing low price. Details are in the show notes.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging out with you guys. And today, super excited about having another great guest interview for you guys on today's show. We've got none other than the man, the myth, the legend, my boy, Mike Pletz with the How to Hardscape podcast. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. It's been a minute. It's probably been at least a year since we had you on the show. No?
I would assume so. At least, yeah, a year and a half. Maybe even reaching 2. I don't know.
It's been a minute. I know that. And nonetheless, I see your stuff pop up all the time on Instagram. You're all over the place. I think I listened to a recent show. You might have been on, gosh, I don't even know, somebody else's podcast. And I was like, oh, dude, it's been a minute. And then that prompted me to say, hey, and we were just texting back and forth. And I said, dude, let's get you back on the show, man. Let's get some updates and hear a little bit more about the whole world according to Mike. If some people maybe they haven't heard you in a year or two, long story short, what's your story, man? Who are you? What's your background? And then, dude, you and I can catch them, of course, on the air here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a small hardscaping company in Toronto here. And with that, we started the How to Hardscape platform. That's where we've got, the podcast, as you know, you've been on our show, as well as many other great guests. And beyond that, we've expanded what we're doing with How to Hardscape these past couple of years, probably since we spoke last as well. And then if, other people are looking for another podcast to listen to, there's also the Not Our Finest Hour podcast, which you may have heard or may not have heard. But that's just the gist of what I've got going on in my life, at least in this space. Yeah.
So do you, I've heard the Not Our Finest Hour podcast. I've heard of it. I haven't listened to it just yet. Caleb Allman is always dropping nugs that it's one of the most value added shows out there. I guess that's already a wordplay and like a pun. So what are you doing that with the other Mike, Paver King, or is that a whole different show?
It's a whole different show. So it's we started a new podcast there. It's 3 hardscape landscape contractors sitting down once a week and just talking about the week in contracting. So as well as anything else that comes to mind as we talk. But it's me, Mike from Paver King, and also Chad from the Landscape Dad.
What's the third guy?
Chad from the Landscape Daddy. He owns a company as well. We're all actually based in Ontario here, Canada.
Okay.
And he owns a commercial, mostly landscape company in Cornwall.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I feel like I know the name, probably just from, seeing a reel or something on Instagram. But, shout out to Chad as well, right? That's funny. And so what's the Not Your Finest Hour podcast? What is that all? I mean, I've heard stories. I'm not endorsing anything. From what Caleb told me, he said, don't endorse anything unless you listen to it first. And I said, okay, fair enough. But what's the story there? Why'd you guys put that all together?
So we wanted to, just sit down once a week and talk a little bit more real, as opposed to having something live on, I don't know, like the How to Hardscape podcast or anything like that, which kind of has a different mission in and of itself. But the Not Our Finest Hour podcast is just, 3 contractors sitting down and just talking real, what's happened in the week, our mess ups, our, wins, whatever it might be, as well as anything else that really comes up in life. So we just wanted a separate thing to live in and of itself that, 3 contractors can talk and other contractors can listen in and kind of join in on the fun as well and get in on those contractor inside jokes that may not quite fly on the How to Hardscape podcast or other podcasts.
Yeah. There's Fullerton Unfiltered, and then there's like people like, give me the unfiltered. I'm like, you get about 99% unfiltered here. You know what I'm saying? But if you, I mean, there's unfiltered and then there's canceled. You know what I'm saying? And you got to sometimes you got to toe the line. You guys know what I'm saying? And I don't care. Yeah. I don't care how bold or tough your tough guy favorite cherub dude is. You know, like there's always certain things you can't say or just PC, and it's bullcrap. It's pure bullcrap because it's just the culture that we live in today. And people are like, well, I would say this and I would say that. I'm like, really? I'm like, you think so? I'm like, try saying a swear word on social media. And then I always say, try saying God, Trump, or Jesus. And right. I wouldn't even venture. And it doesn't mean you're not a zealot for Christ if you don't say Jesus on YouTube. But I'm just telling you, like, you will literally see your analytics tank within 30 days or be shadow banned for an eternity, which is just wild, So it's like, I'm all about spreading the gospel and spreading the good news and sticking up for my beliefs. But it's like, dude, you got to use these platforms. And it's such I don't even know any other way to say it. Mike, have you quantified like a better way to say, like, you got to toe the line, but also you can't, I don't say get canceled, but you got to figure out the best way to still get your message out into the marketplace on these broad platforms. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I know exactly what you mean. Like, for as unfiltered as you can possibly be, there's still things that, to appease the Instagram gods and all these other platforms, you should kind of leave it for another, platform in and of itself, right? Like, right. That's where... even off the mic with the Not Our Finest Hour, we still have things that we probably wouldn't say on the podcast. So even we are 99.9% unfiltered there.
Right.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Which is better than most of the soft shoe garbage you get any which way. I'm not afraid to press into pretty much any topic, nonetheless. But so is it Not the Finest Hour where you can get the real, the uncut, the authentic, and or is it just like the grotesque, the war stories, the crazy stories, and all the other stuff that you're like would blow out the new people?
Yeah, well, I mean, Paper King, he's been in this industry for, I don't know, over 100 years or something like that. So he's got stories for days, and if people could just have him on their podcast again and again and again, and he'd never run out of stories. So him in of itself, getting the stories out of him gives us so much content for that podcast. Not to mention Chad, he's been in the industry for a long time as well. He has a commercial company. He's got tons of stories dealing with GCs and other great topics as well as his own employees and everything like that.
Sure. I'm
the young guy of the three of us, so I've got stories, but not as much as they do. And, just flushing out the stories, lots of great inside jokes that we have with our audience as well have come from that. So we've only been doing it for about 6 months now. And the response that we've had from contractors, they're just happy that there's, another podcast out there for them to listen to that they can really, really relate to. And it's something that, I can't even push on How to Hardscape to get into those topics, because trying to keep How to Hardscape more evergreen and more content that anybody can listen to at any point in time and get a good valuable piece of information, whereas Not Our Finest Hour is in another stratosphere in and of itself.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, and I totally agree. Like, they're not that they're like throwaway podcasts or episodes or shows or conversations, nothing like that. It's just different topic, different audience, different reason for them to exist. And that's awesome. By the way, like there's other podcasts that I listen to that some have different approach to covering politics. I love listening to Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and everybody else from the Daily Wire. But long story short, I like the Morning Wire. Liz and I listen every morning to the Morning Wire, and it's our 15 minutes, the news in 15 minutes or less, no BS. And it's a similar approach to politics that the Daily Wire is going to cover, but it's a different conversation, right? Like it's 15 minutes, just the details, and then Ben Shapiro can go rant for an hour and a half on his daily show. And so And there's different guys that have different podcasts out there as you guys are listening in. Like some are X's and O's, some are more funny, some are just backyard quote unquote conversations like Greg Scheller. And by the way, there's hundreds, I'm sure by now, stockpiled of episodes that I get to go and re-listen to and binge through once the season kicks off and we're back out in the field 8, 10, 12 hours a day. This time of year, I'm not listening to as many podcasts, admittedly, until we start hopping on the mowers and then we backfill all those shows that come out through the winter. So it is pretty cool to see the probably 10 or 15 new shows that I could just riddle off the top of my head. They're all coming out. And again, I'm always like baffled that this much content it gets put out for free. And like even like Mike with Paver King, people are like, oh, he's a jokester or he's a comedian or he's just, ruffling feathers. But like you said, like just off the cuff conversations with him, like he's forgot more about being a good contractor than most people will ever learn in their lifetime being a good contractor. And like, that's how much value that dude has in his brain. And his delivery, of course, is going to be entirely different, but it's wild that you can pick the brain of these people and just hear them like how they approach different things, good, bad, or ugly, and learn those nuances. Cause I'm always telling people it's the nuances of being an entrepreneur that like take a lifetime to learn. And it's awesome that the stuff is available. Like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows, Tuesday, Thursdays, whatever your person is putting the stuff out. It's wide available to you, So, anything else you want to add on the, so I didn't know that you were running that show. So how do you guys do logistics, or do you guys like have a record day, or what do you guys do there?
Yeah, we record once a week, usually Tuesdays. Sometimes that gets pushed back to Wednesday or Thursday. And we do 2 hours like each time we record, and we split that up into the initial episode of that week, which is not our finest hour, and then we have the second hour released the next day. So it's Friday, Saturday, and the next episode is called Our Even Worse Hour. So you can expect a little bit less value perhaps in that second hour, though that second hour sometimes outperforms the first hour. That being said, like the main reason why I really enjoy this podcast is like Brian, your podcast, for example, and other people's podcasts. I really enjoy the episodes where you have like a recurring guest on or a returning guest, because you've built rapport with them and you can really tell, and that chemistry really comes out in the actual episode, right? Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite episodes personally of podcasts of any genre to listen to. So having like this where three of us are sitting down, and you can even tell like the rapport we've built since episode 1, just going back to listen to that to where we are today. The chemistry is building, and it's just even if, I mean, we're not making money on it, but even if someday we do make money on it, it's still something that I really do enjoy sitting down with those guys once a week and talking with.
That's awesome. And I agree. I like more guests, the better, personally. I'm like the hodgepodge of having like 3, 4, 6, 8 different people on a podcast. Some podcasts have like 8 guests, or, eight buddies, 8 friends or whatever, like a Hype House kind of a podcast. And my guy, Rob, Foreman Rob, he listens to a bunch of great podcasts. I'm not promoting any of them. I don't know any of them. I don't want to commit business suicide here. So, but Rob's always like, dude, you heard of this one? I'm like, no. He goes, I'm like, what do they talk about? He goes, this. I go, I literally don't care about any of that stuff, but good for you, dude. But he's like, he loves this stuff. And it's like a comedy show with 7, 8 different friends all chiming in at once. And like, you just feel like you're part of the conversation, and admittedly, dude, I wish I had a studio where I could bring 2 or 3 buddies in all the time, and just, it would just be a trash talking session. I mean, like that would be like our podcast is pretty businessy, but like you guys hear when I get my younger brother on, dude, we just bash each other for an hour. There's some business value. It's like, it goes from like 90-10 to like 10-90 right off the rip, So is that what you guys are experiencing? You're telling me with the Not Your Finest Hour podcast?
Oh, exactly. Right. Like once you've kind of known each other for a little bit, you're able to poke fun a little bit more and a little bit more each time that you're able to talk. So, right. Yeah, we've had lots of great inside jokes on that. Everything from, Paver King handing out pickled eggs to when he was a sales rep to say thank you for buying our products to his clients to, a wide variety of stories that come up on that show.
That's awesome. And by the way, the other guy, forgive me, what was the third time? Chad. I think maybe I did hear a podcast with him. Was he on Kale and Brittany Allman's show? Not that you keep inventory on this, but
I don't know if he's been on theirs. I know he's been on the How to Hardscape podcast quite a few times. He owns a company called Natural Design Landscape. So you may have seen his logo through that or his tag.
It's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was saying it's funny. Like you see and hear a little bit of everything and everybody. Like even if you're not trying to search stuff, just because the algorithm on Instagram or stories, and I click through a bunch of stuff. I try to stay active and make friends and all that mess. But I thought I heard his story on the Kale and Brittany show, but I might be mistaken because I know he was interviewing somebody from Canada, and I don't know, just because you hear him on the show doesn't mean it's him, but you know what I mean. But if not, that's tell him to reach out. Say, hey, well, I love to highlight other great people, and we have tons of people that listen from Canada, dude. Like it's I didn't know like how many people were into this stuff. First off, outside of like my own ego, I'm like, dude, who wants to listen to me? Mm-hmm. And then you realize like people listen like in your town, your state, your city, and then across the country, and then across multiple countries and overseas, and it's wild. And shout out to all my Canadian friends today, because man, you guys, I think are our second most downloaded country. I would have to imagine by far, and then after that, it goes all the way over to Europe and Australia. But you guys got people listening from what's the west side of the country? British Vancouver, Columbia, right? British Columbia?
Yeah, British Columbia.
Yep. We've got tons of listeners out that way because it breaks it down like by province, I think, right? And so we've got different people listening all across the country, man, which is wild. So shout out to Canada and everything that you guys are doing out there, man. Keep hustling. And I got Tad from I think it's Timber Wolf or Timberlake. Gosh, he's gonna kill me, but he plows a ton of snow. He's over, I think, on the west side of the country a little bit, and it's crazy to see, just like through blurred lines, through all the different people that have a passion for the industry, man.
Have you ever thought about starting your own lawn and landscaping business, but not sure where to start? Look no further than LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, an e-training website dedicated to helping you start and grow a successful lawn care business. Save more time and make way more money by learning exactly what it takes to grow your business to the next level. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all training programs today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
It's amazing what, reach these podcasts and, all these different platforms have. It's really cool to see them grow through the analytics and seeing where people are listening from, for sure.
Now, tell me a little bit the last year and a half since we had you on last. Because I know we had you on, dude, it could even be 2 years because this thing is going on year 3, if I'm not mistaken. We started this in 20, so it's 2023. I probably had you on last summer, I think it was, because I don't think it was the first year, because I was just trying to get through everybody, and it's like, dude, we only have like 100 shows a year, and there's like 1,000 different friends I'm trying to get on the podcast that all have something great going on, one of those deals. But what's new in the last 18 months? You got the new podcast that you guys are co-producing, which is pretty cool, and then what's new with How to Hardscape and your specific podcast and training? Because I mean, dude, you're all about landscaping, hardscaping.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, what's new? So we launched a training resource for people wanting to get into hardscaping and all of that. We did that last year, beginning of 2022. And the goal was always to develop that to get to a point where whether you want to get into hardscaping, it's there for you. But also if you have a hardscaping business, you could assign these resources to employees to onboard, because I know one big thing with at least my employees is during the exit interviews, a lot of them told me that they wish they had some sort of resource that when they show up on the first day, at least they know kind of what's going on. Because a lot of people don't know about the hardscape industry, the tools we use, the processes that goes into actually installing one of these things. So a lot of them just told me, hey, I wish I wasn't thrown in the deep end first day and trying to understand a job site and all that. I wish I had some sort of training resource. So that was the point to that. And then this year, we in a couple of weeks here, we're launching our own software. So It's developed from our budget and estimate spreadsheet that we created in our first year of doing How to Hardscape back in 2020. And it's going to allow business owners to create a budget, estimate from that, have a simple CRM in there, and also job costs along with many other things. But that will merge with that training resource so that users can actually have access to both one monthly fee or annual fee, whatever that is. And you'll be able to take training for hardscaping, getting into that, or as a business owner, be able to assign your employees that you put into the software certain training resources that you can monitor their progress and see how they're doing with that. And goal with that is to continue to expand that into more things like safety training. So you have an employee that you want to assign safety training videos to because maybe they're going to get into the equipment next week. They have the theory and then they're ready for a little bit more field training. Or what we'll expand more into is, if you want to level up your employees in your business. So we're looking to expand more and more into that software training type resource there.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, good for you. Did you guys build all that out on your own, or did you hire a company out to put all that together?
So I built the training resources on my own, and then we've got a partner to build out the software for us. So
okay,
that's been good so far.
Dude, that's awesome, man. There's some big things coming down the pike for us about 12 months from now, and we're building the infrastructure. It's a lot of time and effort and money, dude, as you know. And I've talked to Weston Zimmerman with Synced Up about apps and software and blah, blah, blah. And dude, it's crazy how all this stuff, how much it costs, how much the upkeep is. It's like a never ending, black hole of money. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, people are like, you're making money on all this stuff. I'm like, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy how all this stuff comes together. You know what I mean?
Expensive, and we'll continue to anything that will definitely be sunk right back into it for to come. So it's definitely not a cheap endeavor. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But still helping to get the message out and help everybody with hardscaping, correct?
That's correct. It's strictly a project-based software. So at this point in time, we don't have any support for recurring services in terms of being able to quickly invoice or anything like that. But that's the plan for the next phase later in the year for something like that. But for now, we're sticking strictly to hardscaping, landscape project-based software, essentially for businesses.
Cool. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, that's really, really cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that everything is on the up and up with what you guys are putting together, man, because you see people start things and it's always cool to see people stick with things and continue to build and grow. What else is going on like with your now, do you still have your personal hardscaping company? Are you guys still out doing jobs? And I think you had a couple guys working for you, but how are things going there?
They're going good. So it is just me and one crew. It did end last year, end of last season. I had 2 employees, and then for my final project of the season, I lost them kind of back to back. They're leading into that project. Then next year we've got 1 guy for sure. So I'm hoping to get back up to 2 crew or 1 crew, 2 guys with me. I work in the field. I love working in the field, and that's kind of where my landscaping business is at for now. Essentially.
Okay, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys going into the season here? What, another like 3 or 4 weeks, or when do you guys normally start getting out there for hardscaping? Because I'm sure that's a little different than mowing.
Yeah, if we're lucky, beginning of April. That's what the past couple of years have given me. But we've started as late as like late April. It all depends what we've got bleeding in from the previous season. So if we've got like a little bit of work to do to finish up a project, we can start that a little bit earlier as opposed to having to excavate a new project. Can't do that when the ground's all soupy and wet. So yeah, luckily I have a little bit left from that project from last year to get into. So I'll start doing that as soon as the weather's nice.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then running all the social media and the hardscaping resources late nights and weekends, right?
Oh man, yeah. Any time that I can. So I do have a wife that needs attention. So there's that.
It needs attention. That's a good way to say it, bro. like it's a house plant. You got to like water and fertilize in sunlight. You know what I mean? Oh, that's good stuff. It's like people are like, oh, it's a balancing act, especially if you're trying to do social media, because it's like, I got to run off and do a call, or I got to run off and do a podcast. And the wife is like, another one? Like, when are you free? And you're like, I don't know. But it's like, we've actually consolidated a bunch of this stuff to be able to block it out, because it's like, if you don't, it'll just literally, it never ends, which is fine. But it's like, you social media is something that you can get like a forever. You can always produce. And it's like, there's a good level of production and quality of content you can put out there. But I'm not just throw volume at it kind of a guy. I'm trying to do a balance between quality and volume. But if you don't, it just takes over your soul, you know. And I've seen so many people just get caught up in the numbers, the metrics, and the quote unquote even making money. And it's just like, no, it's like, not for me. For me personally, I'm just like, let's find a nice, healthy balance. Keep the marriage. Keep everybody happy. Divorces are cheap, just so you guys know. Don't get divorced. And because if you get 50% of whatever you think you're going to make, you know, it's a lot less if you just keep 100%. If you guys know what I'm saying. So, tons of wisdom on today's show. A lot of value. We're a big value add show. It's I'm trying to give some lessons here.
Absolutely.
Not you, Mike, the other Mike, Paper King Mike. You know what I'm saying? But and then Caleb's got a bone to pick with Mike. He keeps telling me that you guys are adding value on that show, which I guess is like false advertising. So he said you guys got to correct that in a heartbeat. I guess Mike's been adding value. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, Caleb's got a quote that we repeat on the show, and it's he says the podcast is not for everyone. So not our fine hour tagline is not for everyone. That's
like the politically correct way of like me saying like, here's my opinion, right? Or it's my belief is this, and then I can say whatever I want after that, because you can't be like, well, that's wrong. Well, no shit, it's my belief. Like, so like, but when somebody says like, hey, it's not for everyone, that's code for like, hey man, like if you like good stuff, tell him I sent you. If you don't like if you don't like the bad stuff, then I didn't recommend it to you. You know what I mean? So he's it's like being it's like a hand's length or arm's length, you know, distance there to like keep some distance. So oh, Caleb is very PC like that. That's good.
Know Caleb listens. We know he listens.
Oh,
we know he's our number one fan.
So. Every time I'm hanging out with him, he's dropping nuggets and he's referencing your guys' show. So he's a closet listener, if not a full-time fanboy, right? So
gotcha.
Oh, from the horse's mouth, right? Because he won't let up about it. And but I'll tell you what, when we had Paver King on, 2 years ago, I know that was 2 years ago. He went for like an hour and 45 minutes nonstop, just dropping nuggets. Like it's an oldie but a goodie. I'd have to think, you know, what episode, probably in the 100s. But it was I didn't want to interrupt the guy, and he's like, "Is this good stuff? Is this what you talk about?" I'm like, I don't even know what we're talking about. We're still figuring this thing out. And but it was just pure contracting. It was like a, you know, somebody's been doing this, like you said, for, you know, 2 millennia, just dropping all the nuggets that they can. And when he's been, you know, laying stones back in the day since Moses has been around, you know, he's been able to, you know, maybe learn a couple lessons along the way, you know. So it's been Don't tell him I said that. I don't want to go to his head, obviously, because he's hanging in there. You know what I mean? So it's he's buying triaxle dump trucks every other 3 weeks. So it's pretty cool to see what he's doing out there. You know, hanging in there. So him and Mulder both. You know.
Oh yeah.
Any which way, but
exactly.
Well, that's all I got, man. I just want to bug you, man. I bugged you. I don't have any agenda here. I just wanted to catch up with a friend. So I was like, hey, dude, when we were DMing, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I said, hey, dude, it's been a minute since you've been on the show. Like, what the heck? Way too long. So let's button up right here, man. Where can people find you and go down the rabbit hole of all things How to Hardscape if they want to catch up with you?
Yeah, if you want to see what we're doing with How to Hardscape, just our website, howtohardscape.com, or anywhere on socials, see what we got going on there. And if you want to subject yourself to the Not Our Finest Hour podcast, just search it up in your favorite app. Like Caleb Allman says, it's not for everyone, and you'll enjoy it. I'm sure everybody will get something out of it. At least one piece of value per every 2 hours that you listen to. So,
that's awesome.
That's all I say there with that, Brian.
That should be like the quote, like on the front, the thumbnail or cover art or whatever it says, like, it's not for everyone. Like, that's your subtitle, like, not your finest hour. It's not for everyone. It's like,
I really appreciate you having me back on the show, Brian. I appreciate everything that you are doing over there as well. And I know you got a book coming out, so congrats on that. That's incredible. And I want to have you on my podcast to talk about that more as well. So I'm excited to be able to talk to you some more here.
Thanks. No, dude, I super appreciate that, man. Yeah. Whatever I can do to help and hopefully, quote unquote, add value or not add value. It's whatever, the whole add value thing is like, that's so last like 2 years, man. Let's not add any more value and let's just like lighten up a little bit and everybody can just tell yuck stories and just keep it chill, But like when we get together as friends, just so you guys know, I'm not always talking business, like sometimes we just like to hang out and have fun. I went golfing, quick last side note story. I went golfing with Jeremiah Jennings and Caleb Allman, and all we did was bash each other for 3.5 hours. It was great. It was just nothing but talking trash. And frankly, we had so much ammo because just of Jeremiah's golf game alone, like it was so bad. And it was beautiful. It was such a good thing. And he talked the big game. And I knew I didn't have a golf game, but that's like, neither here nor there. Obviously, scoring par or whatever they call it. That's what I do. I'm a scratch golfer, I think they call it. But any which way, I digress. So, all right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up there really quick, Mike. Anything else you need from us, man? But always good catching up with you. Thanks for being back on the show. And dude, don't be a stranger, man. We need to get you back on a couple times a year, all right?
I appreciate that. I'd love that, man.
Awesome, brother. All right, dude. Well, that's what I got. I'll let you go, man. And I will be catching up with you before I know it, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, brother. Tell everybody I said hey, and we will catch up with you on the next one.
New program alert. The How to Get New Lawn Care Customers training program is now available. If you guys have ever struggled at acquiring new customers or are looking to grow your lawn care business, then this new program might just be for you. Looking to learn the best tactics to develop a successful postcard marketing campaign? We got you covered. Have you ever wondered how to use social media to exponentially grow your business and dominate the competition? We got that too. Whether you're just getting started in business or you're a seasoned vet, there's something for everyone in this new program available now, exclusively at L'EntrepreneurAcademy.com.
Hi, I'm Mr. Producer, and one more thing. If you're looking to stay up to date with the latest trends and insights in the world of lawn care, then you need our free email newsletter. It's delivered 3 times a week and includes a Monday motivational to kick off your week, a Wednesday what's new to keep you informed, and a Friday weekly recap of all the content we put out. Join our mailing list to stay connected to the world of lawn care and get exclusive access to the latest and greatest from Fullerton Unfiltered and Brian's Lawn Maintenance. Don't miss out on this opportunity to stay ahead of the curve and elevate your lawn care game. Sign up now with the link we've provided in the show description.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.